just meditate. Don't feel the hate, use the energy and levitate. Contemplate, make sure your next decision great. Thank me later, I just showed you how to elevate. About the shit in our communities. Drop knowledge just to spread opportunities. And as always, think with greatness. Until the next song.
We saw Tua have quite the day against the Houston Texans. We expected the Dolphins to play well, but still, this was still a very impressive performance. I think even going up against weaker competition, a lot of stuff felt very easy. It was amazing, in fact, how open some guys were getting. Like, this is a great example of a play. I think it kind of just goes to show exactly what makes it difficult for opposing defenses to cover in this scenario. Because again, yes, I know a lot of people are going to kind of discredit it and say, hey, it's just Houston, who cares? But this is tough for any defense to cover, where you see how this concept is supposed to work on the screen, where it's a zone coverage play, and you kind of have two players who are running a route that's going to get into one Houston player's zone in coverage. It's on a 3rd down and 7, so important play. But you see how there's kind of an underneath route that a Houston player will maybe want to cover, or he'll want to cover the deeper route, but either way, you can't cover both. Watch how this play begins, and right here, you see that it's that Houston player. He is actually kind of doing the right thing, I would say. He knows that there's only one more eligible receiver on that side of the field, and that eligible receiver is currently further towards the bottom of the screen than he is. So he has a corner who's in that area. He's letting the corner make that, cover that guy, you cover the other player. Okay, that makes sense. The issue is that for a corner, you're now in a tough spot. Do you stay where you're at and cover your zone, or do you cover the other guy? The answer is you cover the other guy, but it's a decision you have to make. Guys aren't going to always make the correct decision. Watch Tua make this throw perfectly. Jalen Waddle got wide open on that play. So again, good concept and bad defense, sure, but that's going to happen. You're playing Houston, so how do you maximize your mismatches that you have down the field? Well, things like this. Make guys make decisions. Don't just trust that your talent's going to win out. No, still scheme stuff open and, take advantage of weak defensive players in more ways than one. I mean, something like this is a great example of just the wide openness guys are getting. I believe this is, they're running a zone buster, that I know, but I believe this is against zone coverage. I think there's a chance maybe this was, someone thought this was man coverage and things got even more screwed up. But I believe this is just a typical zone buster where that route over the middle, can get open. Watch as Tua takes the snap. He is going to fire in that direction, and you see just how open a receiver is getting right there. Again, it's these schemed up plays of you're getting a receiver to run deep, which is taking players further deep. You have another receiver who's shallower, taking someone, to go towards the flat with him. It's just these kind of, simple but very smart and effective plays. Like, this play is another good example of, it felt like watching the game, Houston was saying, okay, they're getting these plays going and they're getting chunk plays. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to stay further deep, right? We can't give up too much of these chunk plays. And it almost felt like the Texans kept getting further and further deep, and because of that, the Dolphins were able to continue to run these plays, but further and further deep down the field. So this is same concept. It's a zone coverage play where you have the receiver who's lined up towards the bottom of the screen, running a deep route, trying to take the corner and safety who's in that area further deep, have another receiver who's running a route that'll kind of get underneath there, but still past the linebackers. Miami is also running a play action, which should help get linebackers to move in, although weirdly the linebackers are moving in this game when they didn't have to, so don't know what that was all about. Even without play actions, they were sometimes thinking it was a run, but that's, maybe a video for another day. But you see Tua does run this kind of a non-traditional play action, but it really works, throws down the field, and again, I mean, look at this. You got someone who's wide open down the field and so far down the field. I mean, they started this play at around their own 40. They're getting to around the opponent's 35. I mean, that's just incredible. As you see, it is a completion. You are able to pick up a big gain right there. So again, these types of plays, these types of concepts, they can work, especially when they can be executed at a very high level. And there's no denying that Miami is executing at a very high level. Because again, it's not like this is stuff that no one's ever thought of before. It's not like people are saying, oh my God, Mike McDaniel, he's running plays I've never seen before. No, these are all plays that we've seen before. In fact, a lot of times it's very much just simple plays, but maybe with a slight twist. Maybe they'll do it on a different side of the field than the opposing team is expecting. Things like that. It's more so good play calling. Plays itself are simple, but they're effective, and that's why they work so well and why the offense works so well. But now I want to go over here because I feel like I try to show one of these plays every single time I make a Dolphins video, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to, kind of go with the narrative of the only reason why the Dolphins are effective is because of their receivers and play calling. Tua is absolutely a very real part in this offensive success, and it's not just because he's hitting wide open guys. Now, absolutely, him playing in this offense helps his numbers and helps his box score stats. Of course, everyone will agree with that. It's totally fair to say that a high percentage of the plays that Tua has, when he takes a snap, there's a high percentage of plays that just work out for him, that are easier and are low degree of difficulty plays. He's in a much easier situation than some other players. Yeah, of course. But also, like, what happens on this play is not going to be one of those situations. And sometimes you like to look at a quarterback and say, well, how do you do when things go poorly? Well, Tua takes the snap, Tua's going to look down the field, and there is nothing open. I mean, I've circled 5 receivers, maybe the one closest towards the bottom of the screen, kind of right at the goal line, maybe, but I don't know, because there's traffic over the middle if he tries to make that throw. I wouldn't advise it, certainly, so I don't love that. If he were to try to make that throw. To me, this is a clear example of nothing is open, and if Tua just threw the ball away right here, I would kind of say, hey, that's reasonable. I understand why you did that. But instead, watch Tua be able to scramble outside the pocket, which buys enough time for someone to really get open. He makes the throw, and they're able to pick up a touchdown right there. So even when plays aren't working well, he is still being a playmaker, which is something that he maybe wasn't in college or his first couple years in the NFL. He's gotten a lot better at that stuff, I think. To me, that's the biggest area I've actually seen him improve. He's always been very good at reading defenses and stuff. I think he's improved there as well. He's a young player continuing to get better, but I think that this area he's really improved, and it's part of why, last year there were conversations about should he be the starter this year, and now this year there's conversations about should he be an MVP level quarterback. There's other reasons why that narrative has changed, but part of it has legitimately been he's just gotten better. And one more thing to talk about is, I kind of brought up, okay, so you have a lot of these plays where something like this, it's a zone coverage play, you have a receiver running a deeper route. Well, I feel like the Dolphins also kind of said, hey, we are allowed to still throw it deep, especially if you're going to play as far off as you're playing. We can take a chance and we can see if we can make something happen. Watch Tua, again, runs the play action. I mean, it's basically just they're running the same play over and over again. I mean, that's essentially what they're doing, is they're just spamming the same play. Hey, that's what I do in Madden, right? If a play works, why change things up? Keep running that play. 4 verticals all day, absolutely. You see this situation, and again, it's, I don't know, similar to sort of a basketball type play at this point of trying to get a rebound. It feels very similar, where Waddle kind of has him boxed out a little bit to where he's in a position to make the grab, and Tua also is going to put this one in a good spot. And as you see, Waddle is able to make that grab, and they're able to pick up a big gain on that one. So again, this kind of stuff, they're running it at such a high level. And this is, again, you're not even having a running game here, really. I mean, this is passing all the way. And one of the things I like about it is, hey, I think a lot of teams would say, okay, well, we have to still establish the run. The Dolphins are saying, if we're running for 2 yards per carry and we're throwing for 10 yards per attempt, we're going to throw the football. That's what we're going to do, which is the correct strategy. And they don't need a running game to set things up. They really don't, because they talked about it in the broadcast, and it's true. Teams aren't going to play man coverage against you because of the speed of Waddle and of Hill, so you're going to get a lot of zone, and Tua can pick that apart. Typically, you have to run the ball to try to get teams into a zone coverage. They don't, because they have the receivers who can set it up, so they don't even really have to establish the run if they don't want to, and it's because of the great talent they have, the great coach they have, and the great quarterback they had. Yes, I said it. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.